if it's quite 6 o'clock. It probably is just about 6.
6:02.
6:02. We're going to just chat a little bit here. Give it just a couple more minutes for anybody who is tuning in, wanting to watch it live, but have no fear. If you missed it, just hit the rewind button. It's going to live on YouTube forever. As I love the YouTube platform. It makes it really easy. For anybody who doesn't know, Homebuyer Learning Center has a large body of videos, seminars, realtor how-tos, buyer how-tos, ways to get approved.
Always adding. There's always more stuff.
That's it, guys. So we're happy to bring another lesson today about the market that's happening. Should we rewind that one click back there for me? There we go. Homebuyer Learning Center, always bringing education to our buyers, to our local community, and not so local community. Matter of fact, we're licensed in many states, so we're operating all across the nation. So if to our people that are not in the northeast regions of the United States, we welcome you as well.
Yeah, we can help you out as well.
That's it. Guys, so one of the things that we wanted to talk about today, one of the things that we're going to cover, it's a seminar a little different than our normal seminar, right? We would, for the most part, bring people into our office, have a group sitting with us, and we'd also, be on Instagram Live or YouTube, and we'll do our normal, how to prepare to buy a house, right? The credit, and we understand how much money it takes to buy a house.
Yes, all those.
We understand the type of income and debt ratio, language, and those sorts of things.
Right.
But we want to address more pressing matters.
Right.
We understand that now, in this time, we're getting more questions about the market.
Yep.
And less questions about how do I buy a house. I feel like we've done a lot of great work. I feel like we've put a lot of great pieces out there to teach people how to buy.
Right. They know how to buy now.
I feel like they do. And for those who are just joining us new, and this is the first time you ever actually watched any of our seminars or our shows, if you are wondering how to buy and you want Buyer 101 material, we'd be happy to get you that. Just check out YouTube.
That's right. Or call us.
That's right.
Do a consultation if you'd like.
Absolutely. So if you check out our body of YouTube videos, you'll find what type of income and credit you need, credit tips and tricks, all sorts of things.
Everything.
But this seminar, we're attacking a slightly different topic. I think a more current news matters topic, a current market matters topic.
Things
Glenn,
that are prevalent right now. And I know when I talk to buyers, which I'm all day long, or potential buyers, I'm getting a lot of questions about this market. And should I buy right now? Is this a good idea, or should I wait?
Yeah.
And a lot of questions around there. So that's what I think is going to be good about this little different setup we have to answer some of those questions.
That's right. That's right. We Glenn and I were talking about doing our next seminar together. We said, well, what should we cover? What's really going to be the bright idea, or what, and we just wanted to answer the questions that we're getting the most. So he said, well, let's really respond to what we're hearing from our audience and from our borrowers and from our community at large. When we get walk-ins that come in, we get people call in all the time. We get people who see our advertisements, our social, and we're getting engagement quite a bit.
Right.
And the predominant amount of engagement right now is about buying now or waiting. I can understand that.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
extremely competitive climate. The interest rates are at highs that they haven't been in many, many years.
It's all over the news.
It's all over the news.
So people are talking about it.
Right. So we said, let's address this hot button. Let's actually cover this topic, unafraid. But if you do want to learn how to buy, we're going to, drop in some tidbits. We're going to drop in some tips and tricks, true to form, the way that we do here at the Homebuyer Learning Center. But we really wanted to get to the number one thing on everyone's mind right now, and I think that's buying versus waiting.
Yes.
So, Glenn, let's talk about that a little bit. Tell me about some instances where you're hearing where people say, "Oh, maybe I should wait, maybe I should buy."
People are asking on the phone and when they come in, like you said, but also, if I'm at an event or I'm at a party, or, that's the question used to be about the interest rates, and now it's more like, should I even buy right now? So it's definitely out there and on people's minds. So I think it's a good topic. And I compiled a bunch of questions that I keep getting over and over and over again, and figured who better to ask than you. Well, you have over 20 years in the business, and he's co-founder of the Homebuyer Learning Center. Yep. So, you've seen the ups and downs in the market and all these different things. So I figure who better to ask than Christian Berrio.
I appreciate that. I think having some of the experience that Glenn's talking about definitely allows me to bring some of my insight from downswings or rate increases of the past, and look at that analytically and say, well, what's different now? What was it like then? And let's determine if waiting is the right answer. So, in answering that question, buying versus waiting, you know, it goes one step further. There's actually a handful of questions that really tie into that. So when we say, oh, buying versus waiting, well, what do you really mean, right? So we have a lot of questions. So before we get into those exact questions, let me also formally introduce Glenn. So Glenn is a licensed loan officer with us for about 5 years. Yes, I do have 20 years experience, and I'd love for my experience to shed some light on what's happening now. But Glenn has more recent experience, right? And his experience in writing loans and helping people qualify to purchase homes has a real place in this discussion because it's very involved in the now. I'm seeing it from a statistics and trends point of view, helping the community at large. Glenn is seeing it from boots on the ground, helping people qualify every day. So Glenn's been with us for a while. I appreciate his insight and really happy to have him here with us today.
Thank you very much.
And
appreciate the
intro.
invite. Yes.
So let's talk about it, right?
All right. So one of the first questions I get all the time: should I wait for rates to drop?
That is,
it's all day long. So what's your take on that one?
You know, I think this is we're starting with the hardest hitting question first.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is quite the Homebuyer Learning Center approach, right?
Yep. Rip the Band-Aid off.
We are going to attack the hardest to solve problem first. That is something that I think is our style. Matter of fact, my co-founder David Ng, his strongest ability, his strong suit, is that when he's peeling back the onion that is qualifying for a home and helping you to get pre-approved, also another 25-year vet in the business, it's always attack the most difficult problem first. So in this case, in this theme of our seminar today, should I wait to buy or should I buy now? The number one question to follow that up is like, well, what do you mean by that? The number one thing is, should I wait for rates to drop? Should I wait for rates to come down? So I have a lot of input there, right? And I want to start by saying, for those people who are watching, they might assume that they're going to assume right away, right, as mortgage and real estate industry professionals, that we are going to urge you to just hurry up and buy anyway. That's not the case. It may seem at the end of all of this, it might be not such a bad idea.
Right.
However, we want to answer the questions for real. We want you to understand these questions are valid, and they have real answers. There is a very above the forest way to look at this kind of question, and I think that's how we have to kind of measure these things. Nothing in the finance world, nothing in the real estate world is an overnight thing.
That's for sure.
But we can paint a big picture and we can understand where the market is going if we just look a little bit in the past and we look to times in the past that were similar to this.
Right.
Right? So we want to draw on that to tell us what we should do in the future. So when we think, should I wait for rates to drop? That assumes
that rates
one tremendous thing, right?
Right.
That rates are going to drop. And I just don't know that anyone has that crystal ball.
Right.
That says it's definitely going to happen. If you are plugged in and if you really are paying attention to some of the CFPB news, right, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the banking department, Chairman Powell is the head of the Federal Reserve. Mm-hmm. And he speaks every month or every other month and talks at the Fed meeting about what rates are going to do, right? And so
it's pretty influential.
Quite, right?
He's quite influential.
Right. So, and his words do hold muster, and for the most part, we can really bet on what he's saying.
Right.
Okay. And for the last couple of years, about 2 years, he has been working on reducing inflation. It's not quite down to where it needs to get.
No, it's not.
And as a result, rates are remaining up and climbing and climbing. Well, yesterday happened to be a Fed meeting, and he announced that rates are not moving right now. So he's not moving rates right now. But he also said, right now, and he said, but if we must move them up in the near future, we might. maybe another 0.25%, before he started talking about his projections that 2024, 25, and 26 will see a slow decrease in rates. But also, his projections aren't always 100% perfect.
Right.
So we can't assume they're going to come down. So to answer this question, it has a lot to do with, do you know something that I don't? Do you have some evidence that rates are going to come down? If I knew rates were going to come down in 6 months, I'd say, yes, hold on, let's all wait 6 months, right? But we don't know that. What if rates don't go down, Glenn? What if they don't go down?
You'll be waiting a long time, won't you?
You'll be waiting a long time.
Waiting a long time.
Right, so I don't believe we need to ask ourselves if rates are going down as much as we should ask ourselves, can we afford a home right now? If affordability is there, and that's the key that we back into here at the Homebuyer Learning Center is affordability. No one ever woke up in the morning and said, I want to buy a house because rates are down.
Right.
Typically we hear, I want to buy a house because I have
kids.
Kids.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'm getting married.
Right. I'm sick of renting and paying my landlord's mortgage.
We'd like to think that buying a house comes sort of like tethered to a life event, and that's pretty common. If your life event that makes you want to buy doesn't coincide with 2 and 3% interest rates,
right,
that's okay if you can afford a home. I think the silver lining is that Chairman Powell, the CFPB, I think they don't want to see the rates go higher. Right. In their language, it seems like we're gonna be here for just a little while. He even was quoted to say, maybe we're gonna plateau here until early 2026. They do see rates coming down a bit, until the end of 2026. But if that doesn't happen, and you continue to rent until then, you're waiting for rates to come down to save you a couple $100, but then you're spending
a lot of money.
A lot of money in rent, right?
Right. That's 100% interest.
That's right.
That's 100% interest.
That's a good point. We hear that on the Instagram and things like that, but
it's corny, but it's true.
But it's a real point.
True. It's true.
It's a real point. Rent doesn't go anywhere. It goes into your landlord's pocket and helps to pay off their house. So if you're not going to be making that plunge now and you're going to be waiting, we have to think about opportunity cost. If we're not getting it now, something else is happening. And what is happening? That something else is that you're paying rent. $3,000 a month is pretty typical rent for a whole house rental or a couple bedrooms.
Especially on Long Island.
$36,000 every year, $72,000 after 2 years. So, to wait 2 years to save $300 a month will cost you $72,000 if you're renting.
Right.
I don't know that waiting for rates to drop is economically the right idea in that case, right? So. Right. Because we don't know and no one has a crystal ball for the rates, we can't really determine where the market's going to go. I would say waiting for this to happen is probably not the right move. I think you really need to question your affordability.
Right.
If the payment makes sense, I think that's the key.
Yeah, that's usually what I go over with my borrowers all the time. It's more about that monthly payment and can you afford that? And the bank may say, yes, you can afford a $5,000 a month payment, but are you comfortable with that? Right. And I think that's where the conversation really needs to be towards. What can you afford? And then this is how much house you could get.
Exactly.
There's a bunch of different options you have for that.
Yeah.
So my next question that I get all the time, should I wait for prices to drop? Kind of goes hand in hand with the rates.
It goes hand in hand, and it feels on its face value like the same question, but it really isn't.
Right.
It is something different. Oftentimes, a buyer buying their first home does tend to shop price first, and what I mean by that is I hear a lot of people say, "Oh my God, I never bought a house. I want to buy a house, and I think $500,000 is my price point." Okay, they throw a number out there, whatever that might be in your neighborhood, and they usually throw out the number that coincides with the neighborhood they're looking in. But ultimately, similar to the rate, we don't pay a price every month. It's not when I decide to buy a home, I'm spending, let's say, $2,500, $3,500 a month in rent, something to that effect, tired of paying my landlord, tired of paying rent. Those instances, I think, this money, my rent, could be paying my mortgage. And most people want to buy when their rental amount is really close to a mortgage payment.
Which it's getting there, especially again on Long Island.
But you don't compare your rental amount to a price of a house.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So when we talk about prices dropping, it's another crystal ball theory. However, this is not so unknown like our interest rates. Interest rates truly are, we're trying to like forecast the future and like trying to, tell the future.
Exactly. And they're volatile, and it's always,
so many things. The labor markets,
a lot of
pick
factors.
rates, the GDP that changes the interest rates. So there's a lot of factors that go into rates. But one thing that we know for certain is that we can see the way prices have performed very accurately over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And if you're waiting for prices to drop, I would sprinkle a little time on your thought process. What I mean by that is, ask somebody in 2008 if they thought they should wait for prices to drop, right? The market was crazy. Prices were going higher than ever. They said, "Oh my God, this is going to be a bubble. This is crazy. It's not going to, it's not going to sustain itself."
Yeah.
And really, quite literally, what we saw was a steady 4.5 to 5% increase in values across the nation, and in some areas in the Northeast region, we see even greater percentages per year in appreciation and value appreciation. And what drives that? We have tremendous data that show supply and demand have a very direct impact on the prices of homes. And that's pretty easy to answer. When we don't have much inventory, prices remain high. We watch the curve of values as they've been growing 5% a year for a millennia. And there is still not that much inventory. We are seeing lines at open houses.
Quite literally, lines at open houses, waiting to get in. I'm 30, 40 deep in many cases. So there's not many homes, like you said, and a lot of buyers for it.
Yeah, so if we don't have evidence that's showing us inventories coming to the market, and we don't have evidence in our history that values go up and then tend to tick down, we only see the evidence slowly, a lot like that little graph chart over there in the corner of the screen. We see price values doing a lot of that. A steady increase. I think one of the oldest adages to investing is that real estate is one of the most firm, sure investments that someone can make. It's certain to grow in value. And just sprinkle a little time on your theory. Hey, our price is going to go down in a couple of years. Let's say they did go down. It's going to feel like this, right? It's going to go up, down, and then up again.
Right.
And so the down never survives the up. It's just a blip, sort of like we talked about it the other day, like a heart,
Yeah, the
rhythm.
heart monitor, yeah.
It just dips down a little bit, but it's constantly going up. And we see such a steady growth in values. I don't think we can count on prices dropping. Similar to the rates. If we wait for rates to drop to something that we thought it should be, we feel the rate should be 3%. That
waiting a
feels
long
good.
time.
You might have to wait forever.
Right.
And see opportunity pass you by. And the same thing to that effect is the same with prices. Since we don't have real evidence that it's going to come down, and we see inventory still being a bit of an issue in the next few years, as far as we can see ahead. And we know this by development or the lack thereof.
The lack thereof,
right?
Especially on Long Island.
Right, we're running out of space, marketable, sellable, developed areas. There are some areas in the nation that are developing pretty well. We're talking here about our northeast region, right? We're in New York here. And I don't see any reason to believe that prices are coming down vis-a-vis the economy, what we see in activity. So waiting, I think, can really cost you just a whole bunch of rent.
That's for sure.
I think that's the thing that we have to really take away from this. So if we wait for prices to drop, let's say they come down, even if they did come down $30,000, right? What are we talking in a monthly payment? It's only going to affect your payment by a couple $100.
Right.
I don't think that that's enough of an impact to continue to pay rent
Right.
for which you get nothing in return.
Or miss out on getting the home that you really want, that fits your situation perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, waiting for the prices to drop. And it's funny when people ask me that all the time. I'm always like, you'll never ask this question again.
Yeah.
You know, you want the prices to drop now, but once you own that home, you don't want the prices to drop. You want it to go up and gain that equity. So,
Right.
you know, it's just a very short while that you're even asking that question.
Yeah, you know, I think like anybody else, when you're buying, you want to buy low, and as soon as you're selling, or as soon as you own, you want to see it go up.
Yep.
You know, you want to know
See
that
the
it's
equity
raised.
you have, and you made a
Right.
good investment.
The
But
good news is that would happen for you, right?
Right.
Anyone buying today is now the owner of the hottest commodity there is, which is real estate. Very inventory short, and so you are only going to end up on the upside if you sprinkle a little bit of time on it, right? So
Right.
I think the key here is just making sure that whatever the price is and whatever those interest rates are, is that it's within your affordability wheelhouse. It's our job to back into that. So one of the things that we talk about in our seminars here all the time, Glenn, you know, this is something that we work with our clients this way. We reverse engineer affordability.
of course.
We understand your assets. We understand your income. We get to understand your credit, and we back into a payment that you can afford. I think that way is the safest way. No surprises. You know the numbers before you go out and shop.
Right.
And then when that house does strike you, whether the price is the price you want or not, it tends to be the house you want or not. If the house presents itself and it's within that wheelhouse, that structure that we made that you can afford, if you're feeling froggy, you got to jump.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So I think this is, again, it's about preparedness. I don't think we should suffer the market because we're always going to be waiting for the market to improve. And here's a perfect example of that. I'm doing this a long time, and we closed a lot of transactions in the 3-4% range. This was very common, right? The last couple of years, we were able to take advantage of the government trying to stimulate the economy, trying to ease some COVID pains,
Yeah.
and they made exceptions to the rule. And you know, this is something I try to tell even my children, right? Exceptions to the rule don't become the new rule. They're just the exception. I think we got very used to 2 and 3 and 4% interest rates.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that when we had clients at 3.5% interest rate, there wasn't a single one of them, not one,
Right.
who asked for a 2.5 rate.
Yes, exactly. They still wanted more.
In every market,
Yep.
we're going to find that we want it to be lower. I think we're trained that way.
Right.
I think it's healthy. I think you want to know that you're getting a bargain. I think you want to know that you're getting a good deal. But I think that really shows itself in service. I think how do you know if you're getting a bargain? How do you know you're getting a good deal? I think it's pairing with the right loan officer, pairing with the right realtor to help you
Right.
find the home of your dreams. To take as long as it takes. I have many clients that we've worked with here at the Homebuyer Learning Center and over my 22-year career that I've been talking to clients for 5 to 7 years before their home buying dreams become
It's a
reality.
long time.
It's a long time for some.
For some, but it's also situational. You know, not every single situation is the same.
That's right.
And getting a plan together with your loan officer is a big piece of it, so that when you do find that home, you can execute. But, you know, I am a product of the Homebuyer Learning Center. I had some obstacles in the way when I wanted to purchase, and it was creating a plan and executing that plan that allowed me to get into the home.
That's right.
So, you know, it's very important. And then I bring that to my customers. I ensure, especially if they have a big credit issue or an income issue, and, you know, what are the options and things available to overcome those obstacles? And there are some. And, you know, so the plan is absolutely also things you don't know about. You know, you may run your credit, and there could be something in there that you had no idea was there that needs to be taken care of. So getting ahead of those things too is very, very important.
Yeah, I find that the most common flow that someone wants to buy a home is they really want to fall in love with a house first. I think that's
Yeah.
It feels like buying a car. You know, I talk about this once in a while with some customers that I think can relate to this. You know, the car buying experience is really cool, right? You go in, you see all these cool cars, they're all brand new, you sit in the car you like, you sit in the car of your dreams maybe, and then after you've fallen in love, they say, great, now they usher you over to talk to the finance manager and say, hey, sit with our finance manager. And they go, oh my God, the car of my dreams is so
Right.
much money, I can't afford it. I said, that's okay, you could afford this, this, and this. And then they show you what you can afford. And then the shopping experience really changes because now it's no longer the car you had your eyes set on.
Right.
Now it's something subpar. It's not really there. But if we treated that process the other way around, and we sat with the finance manager first, and the finance manager said, "Hey, you can afford this, this, and this," and then ushered you to the sales floor and said, "Look at these cars." Now, when you sit in a brand new car, and it might not be that XLL model or whatever that nonsense was, but when you sit in a new car, it's got the new car smell, and you're previously approved for it.
Right.
If I really want it, I can get it right now.
Right. It's a less disappointing experience.
Man, that is much more enjoyable.
Right.
Because
Right.
now I know I'm seeing something that I can absolutely afford. And so I think that lends itself to our tactic, which is be prepared and be prepared early.
Right.
Know before you go. Get your knowledge, get your information before you hit the streets. And then everything you're seeing will be within your wheelhouse, within your affordability. You'll have a really good idea from your loan officers whether you can afford this property and what it's going to cost you.
Right.
So I think it's much more comfortable to go about shopping when you're prepared and doing it in the right order.
Right.
Don't look at homes.
And it should be an enjoyable experience,
Right.
like you said.
Yes, I agree.
So, next question I get all the time. Should I wait to buy until after the election? And it's always like around these times that starts getting more and more traction. And, with everything going on in the news, everybody wants to know, should I wait?
Yeah. This is kind of a loaded question, and sometimes feels like, for lack of a better term, and I don't want to put anybody down here if I feel this way, but it's something of an excuse that works.
Yeah.
It's like, well, something's going to happen during the election time, so I'm going to hold off until, November.
Right.
I want to see what happens. And there's probably a pocket of buyers that are doing this. I don't know, 15 to 20%, if I had to take a random education guess here, of a portion of buyers that are going to flood the industry during election time or after the election has happened, because they feel that either the same office, Democratic office, or a new Republican office, or whatever that it's going to be, that might affect change somehow.
Right.
Even if it does or even if it doesn't, what I see ahead of us is just more bottlenecking. We are already talking about 30 people viewing, pre-approved
right.
people viewing every home on the market. Well,
And making offers. Sorry.
What if there's this group here that's thinking about, well, I'm going to hold off until November, and what if they're not alone? So now is 30 people at open houses going to go to 40? Increasing competition? If you ask me, someone doing this for a while, acquired a couple properties here and there, understanding the marketplace, I love to shop when no one else is shopping.
Right.
That increases the odds that I can get what I'm looking for. So again, I'm not saying not to wait, but I'm still waiting for good reason. Give me good reason, and I might suggest it,
Right.
But I think this is a trap. I think this is something that's going to get people bottlenecked, adding competition,
Right.
ultimately increasing prices,
Prices are gonna
which
go
we're
up.
trying to avoid.
Right.
Right? So I don't think this is going to be a surefire way to get you into a home any sooner.
Yeah. I liked what you said at the beginning. It's almost like an excuse. When I hear certain questions like this, I try and do a little more digging. Like, why are you making an excuse? And I'm finding there's something that is scaring you from purchasing, or a big obstacle again in your way.
Yep.
And again, it goes back to the planning piece, is finding out what those things are. Why are you nervous to buy? What's the real deep issue? Because if there's something there, we might be able to fix it, or find a loan program that you could jump right into. So
I like what you said. I feel like after all of these questions, they might not be excuses. They might be bona fide concerns.
No.
But most people will put these layers and these questions in place because there is an underlying fear, right? And I can tell you, when you buy your first house, there's a bit of that, right? There's a bit of this, can I?
Yeah. It's a big fee. It's a lot of money.
Maybe you feel as though, well, everyone else, but not me. It might be pie in the sky. It might be something that's just you never thought you could do.
Right.
But we love to encourage and inspire, because at the end of the day, we've made it pretty simple here at the Home Buyer Learning Center. It is not as difficult to achieve as some people might think.
Right.
It's a matter of taking your income, your credit, and your savings and coming up with a loan program that works for you. It doesn't have to work now. But if we can chart a course that lands you there eventually, the fear goes away. I understand the fear of being in a boat in the middle of the ocean. I'll tell you, this is a true story, right? So my partner David has a boat. We go out into the ocean, and when it gets deep and you do a little 360 turn, and there's nothing but water,
Yeah.
that will really shake anybody who's not an avid sailor or boater.
Right.
But then I look at Dave, and he's got his little computer screen, and on his little screen, his little dot, a little beacon, and so we know where to go. And it's that one screen that takes all of my fear, all of my anxiety about being literally what feels like on the moon, and no idea where we are. You'd spin me around on a boat.
Yeah,
I could be in Alaska. I couldn't tell you what to do. But knowing that there's a course that has been charted, this is how you get to where you need to go to safely, and despite what you see or don't see in front of you. That immediately removes all the fear.
Right. Soothes you.
And so if we can chart a course for you that will remove the fear, it removes the unknown, it removes the uncertain. Even when we don't know about rates and prices, we can focus in on the things that we do know. We do know your affordability. We do know your income. We do understand the amount of money you've saved. And we can reverse engineer a home that you can afford so that you do not have that fear. So you do feel enthused and excited about buying a home. I think the days of buying a home being fun, and that's really a buyer's market, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
When it's like 10 houses per one
Yes,
buyer.
and you have your choice
Really
of whatever
fun.
you want. That is great.
Now it's like a bit of a rushed process.
Right. It's stressful in a lot of cases.
And so we at the Homebuyer Learning Center like to remove the stress. We like to say that we bring the solution and we ease the pain and we make it a really fun experience even in this competitive market. So, when it comes to waiting for this type of an event that could increase competition, I don't like that.
Right.
I don't like competition. I would like to go at it at my own pace.
You're very cool, calm, and collective anyway.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's the right way to do this. I think that's the right way.
It is. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I vote to not wait.
I second that. So next, can I afford more home when the rates are lower? And usually after I go over a mortgage payment and I explain debt to income ratio, which you can see in our other videos, I get that question on affordability when it comes to the rate. So if I buy now or I wait, can I afford more home when rates are lower?
That's great. And I just want to take a quick sidebar, 2 seconds to just touch on something that Glenn had said. We talked about debt to income ratio. We talk about down payments and these sort of like industry terms, closing costs, and things like that. We do have a library of videos that you guys can tap into on our YouTube channel. Also, you could follow us on our Instagram. We have some superstars out there that are really putting out some great content for us. So you guys can get this language understood. But if you want to have a private consultation to understand some of this language and how it actually pertains to you,
Right.
how it matters to you, we can definitely help you with that. So don't be afraid of some of this language. If you hear something, make a little note.
Right.
Throw a comment in a DM, and we'll make sure to get back to you guys and answer that stuff. So, I think this is it's an obvious one, right? Like, can I afford more home when the rates are down? I think, if the rates were 1%, everyone can afford more home.
Sure.
So I think there is a certain point where that does become true. But this is also saying to me, if the rate was 1 or 2% lower, maybe I can afford the house I want. Well, for someone who is really rate conscious, and we're gonna enter some treacherous water here, right?
Okay.
This is like we're gonna use some language that maybe our family, our friends, our parents, our mentors, our financial advisors, or just people that we trust. Yeah,
You're gonna say
I'm
it?
gonna say it. I'm
All
gonna
right.
say it.
Okay.
Listen, we want the rates to be 0%. I would wish.
I would
wish
love
we could
to
lend
call
money and give you 0%.
and say that. Oh, that'd be a
Right?
dream.
So it's like a don't shoot the messenger thing. We have to bring rates to you as they're presented to us by the federal fund rate. This is what we're talking about. So as rates climb, I'd love for them to go down. But yes, you can afford a little more house with rates being lower. So one might say, well, then I can't get a house. Rates aren't low enough for me. I want you to think about this bit right here. We might have been trained or talked to or taught to treat it differently in our life.
Absolutely.
And for those people who have been thinking about buying a house, you probably have heard the statement from those mentors of yours, don't pay points.
Don't pay points, right.
Don't pay points. Not bad advice. Not bad advice, unless it is bad for you. I think generally speaking, why would you want to spend more money on closing costs? The idea is I want to reduce my closing costs. I want it to be as cheap as possible. Mm-hmm. But if you're this person who wants to afford more home and you feel that by lowering their rate 1% or maybe even 2% lower than the market is yielding, maybe that helps you to afford the house you want.
Right.
So let's say the market, and guys, I'm just throwing out generalities here, just a generality. Let's say the market is giving us 7% interest rates right now.
Okay.
5% might make somebody buy. That might make somebody jump off and say, you know what, that's all I wanted was 5%. You can get there today. You can get down that low. It does take some strategy. It takes some tact. It takes some preparedness. Right. It takes making sure that you have the money to do so. So these paying points that we hear people tell us, it sounds like we're just increasing our closing cost. Points, guys, just to clarify some of the language. A point is 1% of your loan. So let's say you're borrowing $400,000. 1% is $4,000. Right? So paying points. I don't want to pay a point. A point is $4,000. The points you pay will and can directly impact the interest rate that you get. So let's imagine, again, guys, not a quote, don't shoot the messenger, just giving you some generalities. If you spend 1 point and you can get a 7%, maybe you spend 2 and you can get a 6, and maybe you can spend more and get even lower, like a 5. So if having a lower rate is going to make you sleep better at night, knowing that you beat the system and you beat the rate, you can force the issue. You can force the issue, but you're going to go against the grain, probably against the grain that you've been taught.
Yes.
But it's got to be right for you. Not everybody's buying a house like our parents in 1980. They're buying it for $80,000 and they made $60,000 a year.
Right.
Now people are buying homes that are $800,000, sometimes $1 million bucks, and they're making less than $100,000 a year. So what was good for the gander isn't quite good for the goose. It's not that they're giving bad advice. It's not that they're, your family's trying to protect you. They're trying to keep you, to let you hold on to as much of your money as you can.
Right.
And so are we. I don't want anyone spending not a penny more than they have to in order to buy a home. But what if it helps you get to something that's more affordable for you? If we're backing into affordability, and the only way is for you to buy a home, is to maybe invest some money to bring the rate down, which in turn brings your payment down. Is that bad money?
Right.
If it makes you a homeowner now.
Right. And if your situation needs it, if it needs it to do that, but you get to accomplish the goal of buying a home, what's the harm? And a lot has changed since our parents have bought homes. So they're just drawing on their experiences that are, the whole you need 20% down thing. Another, not true.
Yeah, talk about that.
You don't need 20% down. There's loan programs where you could put a lot less, 3.5%, first-time home buyers, and that saves you a lot of money. So that's, a very different thing now. So even if you needed to pay points to get the monthly payment down, maybe you did want to put down 20% or 10%. Well, you could put down a little less, still qualify for the loan, and get a monthly payment that helps you out.
Exactly.
Sometimes it really, paying the points can be a big advantage to somebody. But your loan officer will give you the options with them, without them, and see, what works for you.
Yeah, I think that's it too. I think that when someone says, hey, maybe consider it.
Right.
That doesn't mean the conversation means that you will.
Right.
I think you need to not be afraid to get those options, right? The option of, okay, do I put that 20% down, like you said? If I'm going to put down 2%, man, I can only put down maybe 18%. And then because I have to apply 2% to this. Or maybe you have the extra funds. They're going to directly, these low rates will directly affect your mortgage payment, which might free up capital, which might make you feel a little more comfortable to do it. So I would just say, don't be afraid to ask that question. But I wouldn't recommend just immediately annihilating the idea.
Right.
I was told not to pay points, so don't even
That's
show it
it.
to me. I think it is very healthy to know your options. You are still in the driver's seat. I like to say that we're the quarterbacks. If anybody's out there watching football tonight, go Giants. We're the quarterback and they're the coach. We both have a playbook we're sharing, right? It's your call. We're just executing. But we should have all the options laid out. So I think if, affordability, if you feel that, wow, rates being lower could have gave me more home or more affordability, it's still there for you as an option. Just don't be afraid to invest in your rate, or at least to hear the option of investing in your rate.
Because there's a benefit, and
right.
you just need to know what that benefit
That's right.
is. And again, I'll say this a million times. Every situation is different. So some people may want that. Maybe your property taxes were higher than you wanted them to be for the month. It goes into your mortgage payment. Paying that point down may get you a little more reasonable. There's options there for you.
That's right, guys. And I think options is key right now in this marketplace. Even in the real estate arena, right? Maybe not getting so attached to one home, understanding your budget.
Right.
Being willing to see different areas, opening up, to different marketplaces. I think this is going to help to really find you a place that does suit your needs and your budget and your affordability.
Especially when we have an inventory issue, really staying open so you could buy something.
That's right. That's right.
All right, let's get to our next question.
Cool.
Everything within my price range is either run down or out of date.
I hear that too. I mean, I do hear that. It might be framed differently from some people. This sounds to me, it's not necessarily true, but this sounds to me like maybe a younger buyer trying to keep their home price significantly down, because when something is either run down or out of date, I'm assuming there's maybe a discount in the price. To me, that's what I'm hearing, right? So maybe, and again, I want you guys to understand this. We really did poll hundreds of clients, and found the most commonly asked questions. So this is really what we're hearing out here. I'm approved for 400,000. I can't find anything 400,000 in this area, or whatever
There's
the
a
price
hole in
range
the
is.
roof at 400,000.
Right. What if there's a hole in the roof at 400,000, and you still want to buy the house? Does it make it a bad house because it has a hole in the roof? Right.
Especially if it's in the area you want, maybe the school district you want, maybe it's right around the corner from your grandmother.
Yep.
Could be a million reasons.
So I think many people see these homes, whether they're run down or just fixer-uppers or grandma's special. She bought it in 1960.
And didn't change a damn thing.
They cleaned it, kept it
Yes,
nice.
it kept it nice and clean.
Those are like little gems, little diamonds in the rough.
Yeah.
Right? Need to be polished up a little bit. But there's actually a very specific loan program for this exact situation. And Glenn, you're very active in the loan, loan writing business and doing the loan officering job. One of Glenn's favorite loans. He seems to have a one of these in his pipeline at all times, helping clients with this at all times. Why don't you tell them about the type of loan that can
Yeah, again, going back to giving options, because there's pros and cons to everything. But I love this loan. I love this loan for when you find this kind of property, or maybe you can't find what you want in your price range. So basically, the bank will only lend you as much money as the home appraises for. But if it needs work, or you want to add a dormer or do some other things to it, we'll lend you the money based off of what it'll appraise for after the work is done. So long as you qualify for that, it's a great option.
So what's that loan called? What's
Well,
the name?
the most common one is a 203K loan. It's
Okay.
an FHA rehab loan.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful loan to really customize and get what you want in a house.
Cool.
But it's also good for, I have a buyer, they want about 800,000 they're approved for. So, and they're making offers, and it's just not working out. They're outbid, and it's getting a little crazy. So I was like, well, why don't you consider, because they're very specific to an area they want to be in. They're very, very specific with that. So I said, well, there's houses available there. They're just not gorgeous $800,000 houses. They're the rundown or out-of-date houses. So you could pick one up for $500,000, pop in $150,000 of work. You're approved for $800,000. You're going to be walking into equity. Now it's customized the way you want it.
I like that.
So it really helps. It helps the buyer get what they want. And those houses a lot of times are sitting on the market for a little while. So there's not much of a stressful situation in it. So it's easier to acquire and then customize the way you want. So it's a great option. And I always give it to my clients, especially with this inventory issue.
I think it's one of the better options. I think one of the better loan options. I find it to be a lot of fun to hold the hand of a buyer going through this.
The excitement they get.
It feels a lot like HGTV. It feels like that experience that we wish we had. It's like, oh, I watch these people on TV. They buy a house and they talk about all this renovation they're going to do, and they sprinkle a little TV dust on it. 3 months passes, and then they're in their rundown house, but it's brand new with new floors, new kitchen, and new everything. And most of the times, what they did was they financed through a rehabilitation loan all of that work. I think it just takes a little bit of vision.
It does.
You know, it is very easy for us to shop for homes, get really excited about the homes that we're seeing, and then go out and get either just, you know, saying, I got to buy this for this price, this is it, and they close off what it could be. Or they envision they have to buy it first before they can make it their own. And that's really not the case. You can go into a house. This is after, of course, you've been pre-approved.
Of course.
We've talked about the numbers. You know your affordability. You know what the price is, what the payment's going to be per month. You know which price range to shop within. You know the taxes of the property taxes that you have to shop within. You're going to have all that before you shop. And you go and see a house, and now it's, okay, it needs a bit of work. Instead of thinking you have to buy it first and then do the work, what we'd like you to consider is buying the house and doing the work before you even move in. So this 203K rehabilitation loan is really clever how it's done. Not only do you get to decide and determine how you're going to improve the house before you close, you're going to meet with contractors and an inspector who's going to write up the process of improving that house. When the loan closes, the inspector and the contractor remain in contact for the next 6 months to guarantee completion of your home. So once your home is then complete and the contractor is held to a very strict deadline, and they don't want to mess that up because this is the Federal Housing Authority.
Right.
You don't want to end up on their blacklist because you could not get a project on early. So we have to vet out not just you as the consumer, but also the contractors. We work with great contractors who we've done all that work for, so we understand that they can help you to get a rehabilitation loan, buy a house, grandma special maybe.
I like the grandma special.
Improve it, pick out your textiles, your materials, your colors, your kitchens, your bathrooms, your roof, and especially some of the necessities, right? Let's say there's a hole in the roof. You can't finance. A bank is not going to give you a loan for a
falling apart house, right?
Or a kitchen that's missing, or floorboards that see down into the basement. There has to be some basic understood safety outliers that we
and
have
usefulness of the home,
right? It has to be livable condition. So if you find a house that's not in livable condition, you'll use a rehab loan.
Right.
The first thing that the inspector and the contractor will do is make sure that they'll do the work that makes it livable. And then they'll ask, well, what else do you want to do? Okay, great. Well, I want to do the floors. I want to paint the ceiling. I want to whatever. And then you build that price. So let's say you're buying a house for $300,000. You want to do $100,000 of work. Now the price is $400,000. Your down payment is based on $400,000, and then you get $100,000 that's cut to the contractor over time. That allows you to do the work that you wanted. I love this type of loan, not just for the young, new buyer, but even someone who's now entering this competitive market, who is on their second or their third home and cannot find what they want in a home. This is available for anybody buying a house. It doesn't have to be your first home. It could be your second, your third. It doesn't really matter.
Absolutely.
You just need a little bit of vision. And I think it's really fun to like draw from some of that HGTV experience, because you can have that on your own, and we can show you how to do it. It is not intimidating. It is not hard. And here at the Home Buyer Learning Center, we made it really easy to understand that flow. We have great people that we work with. So that's something to really consider when shopping in this market.
Yeah. And what I also like, a lot of buyers, you know, if they're putting down 3.5% or 5%, after they close on the home, they don't have a ton of money left over to do these renovations that they really want.
Typically, yeah.
So it's also another option for those people as well. So,
Right.
yeah, like you said, ask a loan officer. We can guide you the way.
Yeah.
All right. So next, I live at home rent free.
is a
Why
good
should
one.
I buy? This is a very good
This
question.
is a good one. This is a good one because I think
This
that
is very good.
when we speak to people buying in this market,
Yeah.
I think we're talking really to these life event people,
Right.
Right? Someone whose lease is expiring and it's time to re-sign a $48,000 yearly lease, or someone who just maybe got married, right?
Right. Kids.
Shout out to Dominique or Miss Ulrich.
Oh, yeah.
Newlywed over here. Congrats, Dom. So
It's a need based.
it's a need based
a lot
for the most part.
For the most
you
part.
see a lot of need based stuff. Relocators,
Right.
People changing jobs. A lot of people working from home now, so
Right.
they're changing how they sort of have
Just
how
sick
their
of
living
paying rent.
environment is.
Right.
Pregnancy, divorce situation. We see a lot of
a lot,
people.
yep.
That's one of those things that you just have to move now. You don't have
Yep.
a choice. But for this person, I live home and I don't have to pay rent. So, how can I be encouraged? I think buying a house is a great idea. I have some money,
But why?
I'm getting 3 square meals a day.
Mom does my laundry.
Mom does my
Right?
laundry.
Like-
I'm not getting kicked out anytime soon, and I kind of like my cushy situation. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna either wait for rates to drop, which we don't know is gonna
Right.
happen, and I'm gonna wait for prices to drop, which we don't know is gonna happen. Because I think the only thing we can know for certain about prices is that they're gonna consistently climb.
Right.
So if I always try to put myself in these person's shoes, like at any impasse, I try my best to use empathy when I approach a situation, and I feel like if you're that person, you've been able to squirrel some money away because you don't have to pay rent.
Right.
You have
Got a
30, 40, 50,000, but maybe you have 20,000 also. It doesn't matter. It's a
Right.
lot of money. All that's a lot of money. And it's the right thing to do, but it's not the right market. You're feeling it's not the right market. I might agree that buying a home to live in and jumping into a $3,000 mortgage payment when you're used to nothing,
Right.
$4,000 depending on the house you want, it really all depends, right? To jump into a big payment and you don't have a life event that's making you do that, I still don't think it means you shouldn't buy. So
What's
it's
that?
kind of like, well, what do you mean, right? Like,
Right.
it's okay to stay home. I don't want. Well, for anybody, some really great books that we read and we talk about, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert
Love that
Kiyosaki,
book.
really
Right,
great
right.
book. Kind of teaches you the mentality of what you should do. One of the things that all of these books, these economists that they teach us, is idle money. Really is like spent money. It's
Right.
wasting money. God, I think I got it. I think that if we allow our money to sit in savings and not work for us, it's a real big shame. And so for that person, that young person who's living home and enjoys their life at home, I think you should entertain Airbnb, rental or investment condo, multifamily property,
Passive income.
passive income.
It's a beautiful thing.
Because by the time you are ready to move out of your home, wouldn't it be nice for you to have a property that's already paying for itself? And what's that property doing, right? Let's say it takes 5 years, because we don't have a crystal ball. And certainly, as far as we could project in the next couple of years, we don't see significant differences in the marketplace. We see some differences, but not significant. That's going to be dropping down to 3%.
Right.
Prices tumbling down. We don't see
Right.
that. But let's say that did happen. But it's many moons from now, 5 years from now, okay? In 5 years' time, whatever property you bought, condo you bought, co-op you bought, Airbnb setup that you got yourself, that is only growing at a rate consistent at 5+% a year. And the recent growth in the Northeast region has been tremendous.
Right.
So exceeding 10 and 15% in some markets. So you will see tremendous growth. So don't let your money sit idle. Put your money to work. And what better to put it into than real estate? It's a surefire way to watch your money grow. When you're ready to make the purchase for a house of your own, you could even access some of that equity that your investment property perhaps
Right.
has gained.
Right. It's not stuck. It's not stuck in the house, as I hear people say sometimes. You can access it.
Let's say the house does gain in value over 5 years, but it doesn't gain enough where you can just pull it out in cash. Well, at that time you can sell it.
Absolutely.
That time you can sell it. You'll get all the money back that you put into it, plus whatever gains over the last few years,
Right.
and now you'll have even more money to go out and purchase something on your own. And this is all because you didn't let your money sit idle.
Right.
If you've done the great and tremendous work and the real difficult work of saving some sizable amount to purchase a home.
Yeah.
Real estate is one of the hottest commodities still. It'll forever be that way. Just look at the past. Let the past paint a picture. Values consistently grow. So I'm a big advocate for people who do live home to let your money get to work. So if you can, I would go ahead and buy an investment property and let your money do some of that earning for you. All right.
Again, Homebuyer Learning Center. Bought my home, and then I bought another one and turned the old one into an investment property. And it's a beautiful. Somebody else is paying for that home for me, so it's gaining equity. It's gaining, all this value, and it's being paid for by somebody else.
These are also, and when you talk to financial planners as well, buying something like a condo or an investment property, even using a price range that's significantly lower than you would maybe live in or move into. If you can find some of these houses, and don't be afraid to look outside of your market. Look at vacation markets. Look in the Florida markets or the Carolinas
Or a college or something.
Near a college. These types of things. Right. I had a friend of mine who bought a house up in Albany near the Lego.
The Legoland.
Legoland. Bought a place, and all he does is
That's a good move.
Airbnb it.
Yeah.
Put some Lego stuff on the wall, and it makes him a lot of money every month. These are really, really great ideas so that you can put your money to work. If you want to dip your toe in the water, you don't think it's the right time for you just yet, that might be the move, right? So I would entertain something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for my questions.
Yes. Guys, so that was really the most common questions that we get in this market. We do have a huge body of information and lessons and steps in order to become a homeowner. We really look forward to making it easy on you. We offer free consultations and free seminars anytime. So if you guys just come into our office, ring our phones, hit any of these. You can DM us. You can find us all over Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And we'll be happy to guide you and get you into your first, second, or third home. Guys, always available for any Q&A. Love the feedback. Find us on the internet. Hit us up. Guys, I really appreciate it. I hope this was quick and painless for you all. Glenn, thanks for your time, buddy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invite.
And guys, we'll see you on the next one. Christian Berrio and Glenn Geis from the Homebuyer Learning Center signing off.